Good morning, YouTube family. Good afternoon and good evening, wherever you might be. Welcome to Escape from Crazytown. This is our live stream that I call Happy Crappy Hour. I know that this is not our usual time, but I'm going to be traveling, so I wanted to make sure that I get a live stream and our group therapy, if you will, in this week. I did not want to take that away from anyone. So I'm so glad you guys are hopping on. I know that some of my viewers are not used to this time, so we'll see what happens. Hopefully, we'll have a few of you guys hopping on and noticing that we're on early or a day early. Our usual time is on Thursdays at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, United States time. But today, I wanted to talk to you about something that's quite uh, really helpful, actually. You know, when you've been future faked, and people who come out of narcissistic abuse relationships are devastated. And they don't know why it is that they remain devastated for so long. It's unlike any other relationship they've ever been in. They can't seem to move away from it or out of it or move on. So that's why I want to get into this today. And the topic today is, why is the narcissist future faking so devastating? And um, have you been future faked by a narcissist? And if you have and you've ended up in this channel, it is likely that you are going through the pains. Hey, you guys. Oh, glad to see some of my regulars hopping on. John, Bailey, and Rissa. Good to see you here. So glad you made it. I was kind of concerned that some of my regulars were not going to be able to make it today. So glad you are here. Yeah, oh my gosh. So, the reason I call this Happy Crappy Hour is because we're going to go into some good things and some bad things. And I did a really crummy thing I'm not proud of this week. I really got upset. I let there's a lot of tension right now out there. In case some of you may not have felt it. I don't know how people go through this time right now and not feel any tension, but there is a lot of tension right now. So, oh, Rissa, so glad to see, so glad that you said that. It makes me feel so much better. She says, I'm so excited to, as always, to be here. This is always a blessing. Yes, and this is why I do it. Um, yeah, yeah. John says that his ex narcissist still puts up stuff that she misses him. Yes, and she has been after him. Oh my gosh, John, pretty much the entire time I've had this channel, or I'm not quite sure when you hopped on, but at least a year, right? And his ex is still trying to pull him back in. Meanwhile, isn't she married to somebody else and living in a different place? Yeah, total dangerous territory. Do not enter that territory with her. You will be pulled back in. Right now, she is going to try to start up pulling you back in, hoovering you, and possibly even pulling at those memories of future faking that you have had with her, because you want to go back. And this pulls right into our topic, because that future faking is deep. It goes to your core of what you dream of and of what you want in life. And that's why the hook is so hard to get away from. It's so difficult to cut that string, to cut that cord from the future faking. Because even years later, down the road, you may be pulled back in because of that remnant of that future faking that you want to believe is still there, is possible, could maybe happen now, even though things are so different now. So this is why I want to get into it. So you guys, first of all, I guess I was going to mention the future faking. I'm sorry. I was going to mention why we do Happy Crappy Hour. And the crappy that I did this week, and I'll admit it to you guys. Let me have a drink of water first, though. So the tension finally got to me. And I'll tell you why. Inconsistencies. That is really pissing me off. So a friend of mine and I, we walk into, look, I have no problem putting on a mask when someone asks me to, or even, of course, even if they don't ask me to, and there's a sign in front of a business and it says, it's required by that business. I'm like, no problem. I'll put it on. I don't want to cause problems. I don't want to make anybody feel uncomfortable, whatever, right? No problem. So we're walking into this model home, I suppose, if you want to call it that. It's not part of a show, right? A showcase of homes. So we're walking in, but before we walk in, my friend, who is not a mask wearer, she does, I guess, wear it sometimes, but she kind of pushes the boundaries. So she pulls out this mesh mask. And I'm telling you, it is total mesh. It is bigger. I mean, it was pretty much a fish net that she puts over her face. But it is skin tone, almost the color of her skin. You can see straight through her mask, and you can see her lipstick, you can see her nose, you can see her mouth, you see her entire skin, right? She wears this mask into this home. And of course, in front of each home, or inside of, at the entrance of each of these model homes or showcase homes, there's a person that makes sure everybody's putting their mask on, which is no big deal. I had my mask on, but it slipped under my nose. Like, I don't know, my mask doesn't like to stay. I wear multiple different masks. Anyway, the one that I had that day, I had it on. I made sure I put it on. I knew they wanted me to wear it, and we were going to see, like, oh, what's the reaction going to be to my friend over here who walks in? Will they say, that's not really a mask? Can you put on a different mask? Anyway, so she walks in with her mesh mask. I walk in with a complete solid mask, and this person looks at me and says to pull it above my nose, which I didn't realize at the time was below my nose. So I look at my friend, and I look back at this woman who's telling me this, and I'm like, are you serious? Because I'm looking over at my friend, who you can clearly see is breathing straight through her mask because it's total mesh. It's not even the fine mesh. It is wide open mesh. I'm telling you, it was like at least 2 or 3 millimeters squares, right? That are open spaces. And the woman just looks at my friend and says nothing to her. And still insists that the problem is I don't have mine pulled over my nose. I'm like, I just like lost my mind in my head, of course. I didn't lose my mind out there, but I did complain, and I was upset throughout the whole wandering through the whole thing, and I was really mad at this woman. And I was like, are you kidding me? I mean, I did say it out loud. So people heard me grumbling throughout the whole house, and that was what was embarrassing. I should not have behaved that way, and I do admit that, but I just cannot stand inconsistencies like this. I cannot stand contradictions like this because it makes me feel like I'm being gaslit. That is why. If you've ever been gaslit by a narcissist and you're like, are you serious? Are you, they'll flat out tell you a contradiction. They'll flat out tell you what you are seeing is not what you are seeing. And you're looking at it and you're saying, but there's a cup of coffee right there on the table. And they'll say, no, there is no cup of coffee right there on the table. And you're like, it's just that obvious. And they'll, and then they'll finagle and they say, well, what you call a cup is not what I call a cup. So that's why we disagreed there, or that's why you thought I was lying, when they are flat out lying. And then they'll change the terms, or they'll change the rules, or they'll use double standards, and then they'll try to wiggle their way out of the fact that they just lied to you to your face, or use a complete contradiction to your face. And I'm like, are you serious? But the problem is when other people buy into it, you guys, right? That is the huge frustration. Other people will buy into the narcissist gaslighting, and that makes you, or makes me, nuts. So that was my negative, or my, hold on, you guys, I'm trying to change this to live chat. That is my crappy this week, that I had gone through that, and it was so frustrating because you're going through a gaslighting right in public. And that's what bothers me. It's like these people have no shame. They have no brains to see the contradiction that they're spouting. And then they expect the rest of us to to follow this contradiction, this irrational reasoning that they have. Well, so what is the solution? What did I find or learn from that, right? What did I do? What am I going to do? You guys, it's a work in progress. I'll tell you that right now. But I have decided that I'm not going to allow myself to get upset like that again. I'm not going to allow myself to steam for 15 minutes. I'm just going to breathe and recognize like this person is crazy. And maybe that's what, say one thing like that is an absolute contradiction. And you can be in complete control and just say that. That's a complete contradiction, but okay. You know, um, yeah. Anyway, I don't know what to tell you other than it does no good to get ruffled. It does no good to get upset with these crazies out there, okay? And same thing with narcissists. It does no good to get ruffled by a narcissist or caught up in their crazy gaslighting excuses and lies and reasoning. It makes no sense to argue with them because they will continue on with their line of lies and their crazy beliefs. And it's not even like, oh, you have different beliefs than I do. They are living in a total made up fake lie of a life. And you cannot pull them out of that. So my happy this week, though, is, let me see. There were a lot of good happies. Let me think about it, though. One that I might want to share with you guys. Well, a happy is that I am going to go visit some family soon. And really looking forward to that. And I want to put aside negativity. I want to learn, not learn, but I want to implement what I have learned over the last couple of years, healing from narcissistic abuse. And what I've learned is that you have to be in the moment with those you love. You have to be in the moment where people you love can enjoy your presence. You don't want to be caught and stuck in the devastation that the narcissist has left you. You don't want to be stewing and pining or, detached during those times when you're with people who love you and care about you and would love to have a great time with you. So that is my happy that's coming up. Yeah. So you guys, the future faking. Let me start with this. Why is the narcissist future faking so devastating? What is future faking and how are narcissists so good at it? Well, future faking is when they start, in your relationship, they tell you all these promises. They make all these amazing, beautiful, wonderful promises of how your life and their life together is going to be amazing, and you're going to buy this house together, and you're going to move across the country, or you're going to have all these adventures together. They're telling you that you inspire them to have this beautiful life and they want you to be a part of it. They could be, they may tell you that they're starting up a company and the two of you are going to be so successful and so rich and so impressive. You're going to be able to buy pay off your parents' mortgage for them. You're going to be able to do all the things you've always wanted to do, right? If you haven't started a family yet, you're going to be able to start a family. You're going to be able to buy all the things you've ever wanted, right? So all this future faking goes on at the beginning and kind of throughout the first stages of your relationship with the narcissist. And the reason that we fall for it is because it's something that we really do want. It pulls at our core. It brings us into the possibility that we can actually have the life we've always wanted, right? Or even if it's a life you never even dreamed of, but they introduced to you this dream that maybe you can have. Hold on, you guys. I'm going to let my dog out. Because he just stays in there and barks at me the whole time, the little wiener. Yeah, so you believe that this is your possible future, and you're going to do everything you can to help the narcissist achieve that future, right? Even though you see them not working towards that future, you will pick up the slack and try to make it happen. You'll try to encourage them. You'll try to make everything possible so that they can take the next step. You'll give them loans, right? You'll invest, if you will, in them because you want this future with them. You start to put your finances into it, your time into it. You start to even tell your friends and family, your hopes and dreams with the narcissist and where you're headed. So you are tied to this future faking, right? This fake future that the narcissist has created. At this point, it's going to be almost embarrassing if the future doesn't happen, if this fake future doesn't happen. So you keep pouring and pouring and pouring into it. It's like a lost cause. It's like gambling, and you keep putting good money after bad money into an investment because you don't want to let go of this dream. And not only is it a dream, but you've already told others that you're going to achieve it, and you've already reached, stage 1 or stage 2 of this dream, and you're moving forward, and you want to keep that momentum going. So at this point, you're actually investing more into the fake future than the narcissist is. The narcissist continues to just run their mouth because they don't actually do anything to build this future. All that they're promising you is a sand castle, right? They're just promising something that would be destroyed by the currents or the wind. It's not even real, but their words are so good. So how is it that the narcissist is so good at this, right? How can they be so good at this? Well, let's go into this. Future faking is so effective that it could take us years, right, to finally realize we had been future faked. Why? How can it take years? Well, because we're investing in it. We're hoping it's true. We want it to be true. It pulls at our core. For the first time in our life, we have someone who's telling us our life can be so much better than we ever even imagined it could be, right? We don't want to admit it because it's embarrassing once we start to realize, man, maybe things aren't going down this road. Maybe we're not building this future. Why are we getting more and more into debt? You start to see these things, but you deny it because it's embarrassing to admit that maybe this is not real, right? Because you're going to feel stupid or ashamed for falling for it. And you don't want that to be true. So you want the future, the fake future, to be true. You're going to avoid the decline. You're going to try to avoid the complete disastrous ending of this fake future because you want to keep pouring into it because you thought there was a spark there for a moment, right? At the beginning, you thought for a moment that there's this spark and when this can possibly happen, I can have this future. And the narcissist, right, your partner is still there. So why not? Why can't you have this future? They just have setbacks now and again. They just have these explosive, crazy, binging, alcoholic, whatever it is they're addicted to moments. Or they have these explosions of anger. Just, and you don't want to believe that part. You want to believe the good part that pulled you in at the beginning, the future faking. It's so devastating, though, that we could remain stuck there for a lifetime if we don't handle this. And that's why I want to talk about this. After the discard, that's when you start to realize you'd been future faked. You don't even notice that until after the discard. Because all the way up until the discard, you think, you hold on to the dream. Can it be? Could it possibly be? And you might have even done the discard. You might have come to this, to the realization that things are not going to work out. The narcissist is not changing. The promises they're making, they keep breaking them, and you cannot continue to live this way. They're mean, they're awful, they're inconsistent, they're gaslighting you, and you're feeling like you're going nuts. And you have to run, you feel like your head's about to explode, and you want to just run in the other direction. So even if you're the one to discard them, what comes back to taunt you and tantalize you and even pull you, right, back towards the narcissist is this fake future that they had promised you because that dream is deep. that dream is still there. You still want these things, even if the narcissist isn't there anymore. You still want these things. And you have to come to reconciliation at this point that you're not going to have it with the narcissist, but you can still have it, you guys. The good news is you can still have this future, but you're not going to have it with the narcissist. But I do want to get into more about how the narcissist does this and why the narcissist does this. Now, you have to understand that the narcissist is a pathological liar. They live in a fake world that they create in their head. So they come off very convincing because they believe, or even if they don't believe their lies, they repeat it so often to themselves that they cannot distinguish it from reality. So they believe that their lies are reality, and they have something to protect. They have this fake life and this fake image that they have got to protect. And at all cost, it is their identity. These lies, they become the narcissist's identity. And they will push and push and push, and they won't back off. Even when you're trying to tell them, no, that coffee cup is really there. And they're like, no, it's not. I don't see it. You just feel like, what the heck? And then when you look away, they remove the coffee cup. And then you look back and you're like, what happened to the cup? And they'll say, what cup? I told you it was never there to begin with. And they have got to keep control of your mind. They will make you go absolutely nuts. And the same thing with the future faking. They'll tell you that they're building this incredible future with you. They'll tell you that the business they want to start or have started, I'm not even sure, whatever stage they were in with you, they're going to try to convince you that it's progressing, that it's improving, that they're making money. And you're like, well, if you're making money, how come we're not seeing any of it? How come we have to keep living off of my income if you're making so much money? I don't understand. And they're like, oh, I'm stocking it away over here. And they just will keep lying and lying. So the narcissist, what I realized, by the way, is that the narcissist is like a polished politician, a seasoned and experienced politician. I have been around long enough. I know some people who are in their early 20s, maybe even in their teens, have not been around long enough to see politicians behave in their arena. Now, politicians will lie bold-faced to you, like look you straight in the eye and lie to you, but look so sincere and look so pleasing, right? They look so humble. They look so warm and inviting, and they'll stare right at you as if they're emitting compassion towards you. And they'll tell you how much they care about where you are and your plight, and that they're going to be the one to help you. And guess what? I'll tell you one policy right now that's total BS, and that is the minimum wage. Politicians have been promising that since I can remember. And some of you out there, I know you remember this as well. Politicians will, because it sounds so good, and especially to brand new people coming into this, thinking, that's my problem. I just don't make enough money. That's why. Holy cow, talk to generations before. Find out what in the world, how did raising the minimum wage help them? It doesn't help, because here's the deal. When you raise the minimum wage, it raises everything else. Now the apartment manager, his operating expenses go up, right? He has to pay all of his employees more. So if his operating expenses go up, how is he going to pay for that? The customer. The customer has to pay for it. So they're going to raise the rates. So your rent is going to go up. So even if your income is going up, your rent goes up, and you're going to be just as poor. So what does it do? What does it do? Instead of building real infrastructure, instead of making it possible for you to move forward and into bigger and better things and be promoted, they want you to believe like all you have to do is get this one low-level paying job, and you can keep it for the rest of your life and not try to improve yourself, not try to do anything better than that, and just push a broom around for the rest of your life, and you're going to be able to buy a $500,000 house with that. Absolutely craziness. But actually, I have friends who have done very well. Like one is a bus driver, and it turns out that, boy, you get some really good benefits being a school bus driver, by the way. You get health insurance. You may get it minimum wage, but you get really great health insurance, and you get retirement. And they were able to sock away enough money that they do have a $500,000 house. It's incredible, but they've done a lot of things for themselves. They've done a lot of the work on their own on their house. They have uh, just looked up and learned and taken courses to how to build parts of their house, how to renovate it, I mean, if you're ingenious, if you're a doer, you're going to be able to manage with what you have. And they want, though, to keep you stuck on them, the politicians, that is. I'm sorry, I'm kind of going off on this for a long time. But the point is that the politicians will promise you things that sound so good. They sound so enticing, sound so attractive. Like, what's unattractive about raising your salary, right? Man, that sounds like a great idea. Of course, why would I disagree with that? Why wouldn't I want that? So you're thinking, this politician is going to give me something better, going to improve my life, going to make things better. Doesn't that sound like the narcissist to you? But in the meantime, they fully know that giving you this increase in minimum wage is not actually going to improve your situation unless you're already a go-getter. And it doesn't matter what the minimum wage is, although it does, if you listen to some economists, it does end up destroying the economy. I remember I don't know if it was Seattle, I was reading this a few years ago. They increased the minimum wage from like $10 to $15 an hour or something like that. And whatever it was, they increased it enough to pull people, most people, or a lot of people, out of the poverty line. And what happened was those who were working the minimum wage jobs, they got pulled out of the poverty level, right? The line. Guess what they did? They realized, like, well, wait a minute. If I'm above poverty, the poverty line, I no longer get all the free handouts. I don't get the welfare. I don't get the reimbursements. I don't get assistance. You know, whatever you want to call it. I don't know what different people call it, but they're not getting this financial assistance anymore now that they're above the poverty line. And the point was to pull people out of poverty. Well, this is what they ended up doing. They cut back their hours. They cut out back their hours, even though they were making more money. They cut back their hours so that they can stay below the poverty line, so that they can continue to receive government assistance. So how did increasing the minimum wage help these people get out of poverty? It didn't. It kept them where they were. They worked less hours, but they're going to stay where they were. They're going to have a miserable life. They're not going to be motivated to then move forward and build something better. And that's what a politician doesn't care about. They don't care. They really don't care what you do with your life. They don't care if you're going to be stuck at the poverty level and not be able to get out because your mindset is stuck. This is what narcissists will also do with us with future faking. They will promise us all this beautiful, wonderful stuff that they're going to do or give us or have with us or build with us, and they don't care. They don't care that in the end they know they're going to discard us. They're just interested in what they get out of us right now. Now, politicians, what they want right now is your vote. So they're going to promise the world. And then even if they do increase the minimum wage, it doesn't matter because to them, they don't care because they're going to make more money. They're already at these crazy upper tiers. Anyway, I'm not going to get into that. The point is that the lies that the narcissist tells you is so enticing, so mesmerizing, and it sounds so good. Like, how can it be wrong when it sounds so good, right? There's a song about that, I think, out there somewhere. You know, they will sell to you ideas that they know will destroy you. But they don't care because If they think that's what you want to hear, then they're going to tell you what you want to hear instead of what's good for you, right? Oh, you guys, it's incredible. There was a guy who I heard of called Ivan Illich, The Death of Ivan Illich, actually written by Leo Tolstoy. And in the book, at the end of it, I guess Ivan Illich, I never actually read the book, but I heard someone talking about it, said that in the end, Ivan Illich says to himself, what if my whole life has been wrong? And I think that's where a lot of us end up when we have been future faked, right? A lot of us end up here where we have to question, what if everything I had believed in this relationship has been wrong? And it is devastating. That's why it's so hard to let go. That's why it's so hard to accept. But let me tell you something. You do not want to get to the end of your life like Ivan Illich did in the story that Leo Tolstoy wrote, right? You do not want to get to the end of your life and wonder, wait a minute, was everything that I believed wrong? Was the whole way that I lived my life wrong? How devastating is that? Well, you're going to feel, but here's the thing, you are going to feel trapped. You're going to feel lost when you've been fake, future faked. And that's where I want to reach you guys today. If you are at that point where you are feeling trapped and you're feeling lost, you don't know what the next step should be. So you realize, okay, they discarded you. You're in this place. What do? You're spinning around. Nothing seems right anymore. You don't even trust your instincts anymore. And yet you're still clinging to what might have been, what could have been. Oh my gosh, the other day I saw some video. It was, I mean, I shouldn't, it was nothing to laugh at, but yet it was comical. It's very sad. There was this wife, and she was on a car, on her husband's car. And he's driving through not really fast traffic, but this slow street, I suppose. And she saw him in the car with his mistress. So she jumps on top of the hood and she's banging on top of the windshield. And she's screaming. And he's driving. I mean, not fast now, okay? He's driving slowly through this area. And there are I think there are cars in front of him. So he's not able really to drive fast. Not that he should while she's on the hood. But the sad thing is she's there pounding on the windshield because she has been devastated. She cannot believe that he has treated her this way. She cannot believe that he is willing to be so brazen as to be right there in front of his mistress and not stop the car, not apologize to her, right? What's going on in her head? She's thinking, he's going, if I pound on this windshield and I keep pounding on this windshield, he's going to notice me. He's going to stop the car and he's going to give me a hug and he's going to tell me he's sorry and he's going to admit all the things that he's done to me and he's going to make this right. He's going to want to make this right. That's what's going on in her head. And the sadness about all of that is many of us probably have been there, right? You think, if I just confront the narcissist, if I confront their new supply, they're going to have to admit to me that they had wronged me. They're going to have to apologize. They're going to have to want to at least, like a decent person, try to make this right because they had hurt me so badly. But that's not what narcissists do. They don't. They future fake and then they drop you and then they don't care. And that's the sad thing about that video is that the husband, he's already decided. He's moved on. He doesn't care. Doesn't matter what the wife does now. He's going to keep moving on with the new supply. But here's the deal, you guys. Here's the good news. The good news is that the wife is actually better off without him because what he did to her, he will do to the new supply. No doubt about it. But the more she becomes a thorn or an obstruction to him, the more it's going to pull the new supply and the narcissist together because now they're going to have a common enemy, that wife. So they're going to pull in closer together and mock the wife. They have a target now that they can pour all of their frustrations onto instead of onto each other. So if the wife were not there to cause that obstruction or cause that scene, right, to cause a problem for the two of them, then they're going to be able to see their own problems. They're going to have to deal with their own problems. They're going to have to face each other. That is the narcissist and the new supply. But because this wife, the devastation she's going through, I understand that because it has been the future faking. You think that we're supposed to grow old together. You think we're supposed to build a life together. And if they had children together, you're thinking, how can you abandon your whole family like this? We were supposed to be in it together for the long haul, to raise a beautiful family, to live a happily ever after. And she doesn't want to let go of that future. She doesn't want to let go of that dream. Although to everybody on the outside, we can see it is over, woman. It is over. So why then, after you realize I had been future faked, why is it that we feel trapped? Why can we not move forward? And I'll tell you, it's because you're looking in only one place. You're looking in one plane, right? You're looking to the side. You may be looking in front. You may be looking behind. And you're looking at your circumstances, and your circumstances look very bleak. Your circumstances look terrible, like a nightmare. And you're left there, and you're thinking, how am I supposed to get out of this? How can I escape this when everywhere I look, I see no exit. I see no way of getting out. And you want an escape route. And I'll tell you how you get it. You get it by looking up. You have to look in a different direction than you have been. I'm going to share with you a scripture. And the reason why I say you have to look up is because if you look beyond what is presented in front of you, if you look beyond your circumstances, you are going to be able to find the way out. And the way out starts actually with what's in your head. The way out starts with, how are you going to think? What are you going to think? How are you going to handle the situation? I want to share with you, I was listening to a therapist earlier, and she was talking to a host of a show. And she was saying that when you can't change your circumstances, you can still choose your response. Even within a miserable place, a prison, or wherever your suffering is, and you're in the midst of that suffering, you can still choose to respond with goodness. And she mentioned, like, you can choose to sing with your children, you can choose to hug them. And if you don't have children, look, you can choose to hug your pets. You can choose to go for walks with your pets and enjoy them. You can choose to go on a trip. You can choose to do things regardless of what your circumstances are. You can choose what's good. And here's the thing I want to share with you. In scriptures, there's a scripture in Philippians 4:8. I'm going to read it to you because I think it is so helpful. It says, "Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if any is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things." That is how you escape, you guys. That is how you escape the trap, the prison that you've been living in because of the narcissist, because of how they've devastated you. You can escape. You have to start thinking on the positive things, because if you don't, you're going to get dragged down by the lowly thinking, right? That leads to the opposite of what I just read you. And let me read to you what I wrote down, the opposite of each of those things. Whatever is true, you're going to believe whatever is fake. Whatever is noble, you might be thinking about dishonorable things. Whatever is right, instead of that, you might be thinking about what's wrong. Instead of thinking about the things that are pure, you're going to think about things that are contaminated and adulterated. Whatever is lovely, instead of thinking of lovely things, you're going to think about ugly and hideous things. And instead of thinking of whatever is admirable, you're going to think about whatever is disgraceful and shameful. Instead of thinking of whatever is excellent, you're going to think of things that are inferior and unworthy. Whatever is praiseworthy, instead of thinking of those things, you're going to think about things that are disgraceful and harmful. So think about that. It matters where you put your mind. It matters what you do in your head at this point. And I know some people are like, but I can't get it out of my head. I can't. If you can't get it out of your head, let me explain something to you. No therapist is going to be able to take it out of your head. You have to make that choice. Now, a therapist can sit there and help you unload stuff, can help you navigate through that stuff, but you ultimately have that choice. You can even do this without a therapist. That's the beauty of it, I think. You can do this without a therapist because the point is, if you start thinking about good things, you're going to start feeling better. Your body starts improving. Your body starts producing good endorphins when you start doing and thinking on good things. You know, each morning I snuggle my dogs for a good probably 5 minutes, like 5 straight minutes, sometimes 10. And we'll just lay in bed and I'll just snuggle them and pet them and they just love it. They just love the scratches I give them and we just cuddle. And in those 5 minutes, I'm building my endorphins for the morning, for the day. It's endorphins that help to manage stress. It's endorphins to help manage negative thinking. It's endorphins that helps me fight the negativity that I'm about to, not embrace, but encounter through the day. So it builds me up. There's another thing that this therapist had said on the show I was watching. She would, and I only watched a few minutes of it. I would love to go back and check it out some more because she sounds really insightful. She was talking about the suffering, that suffering and pain is a part of life. It is. It just absolutely is. There's, you can't ask someone if they've never suffered. They have. They may be in a good place now. And even she was saying that the last time she suffered was years ago because she's been blessed for the last several years. I mean, she's on the show. She's probably written a book. She's doing well. And she's building up her life and things are moving in a very positive way for her. So if you look at her now, she looks like, oh, well, things are great for her and that's why she can say all these things. But where we learn wisdom, by the way, is not from there. It's not from good fortune. We learn wisdom from our suffering. She'd learned from the pain that she's already gone through in her life and had been able to pull out of there. What she learned, and what I've noticed too, and I think you guys have noticed this too, is that even when two people have the exact same thing happen to them, they will both suffer. One doesn't actually suffer less than the other. It seems like one is suffering less than the other. But what is actually really happening is that they're suffering differently. They choose to suffer differently. Like she gave this example of, two sets of parents and they lose a child. That's one of the most devastating things that can possibly happen to a person, right? Or even looking at people who've gone through narcissistic abuse. They have gone through the same type of narcissistic abuse, maybe even the exact same abuse themselves, right? And yet one seems like they're hardly suffering at all anymore, and the other one is still stuck and trapped in their prison. And you're wondering how is this possible? It seems so unfair that the other person can move on already. And I've had people look at me the exact same way. They're like, well, it's not fair that you've been able to move on. You must have had a really easy life and everything must have just landed in your lap. And I got to tell you, that is not the truth. There have been times that I've looked at other people and thought the exact same thing. Like, how come they don't have to suffer? Or how come they didn't have to go through what I went through? And because they didn't go through what I went through, that's why they're not suffering and I am. I've done that whole comparison thing. It just doesn't help you. It keeps your mind stuck. It keeps you trapped and imprisoned. And that's why you cannot look on this one-dimensional plane, right? You can't look just in front and in back and side to side. You have to look up. Or you can even look down and within yourself, right? Look inside and change that part of you. Start doing and choosing something that is good, whatever is lovely, right? Whatever is noble and true and right and pure and admirable and excellent and praiseworthy. If you would, Google those things. I would, if I were you, I would Google Philippians 4:8 and write it out. And write it out each on its own line. And remind yourself each day, I'm going to focus on whatever is true. I'm going to focus on whatever is noble. So when negative thoughts come into your head, instead of those thoughts laying eggs in your head, you're just going to swipe them away. You're going to smack that out of the ballpark. You're going to push it out with all these other good things. Think on these things, is what the scripture says. Think about such things. Now, why? Why would someone tell you to think about such things? It's to get you out of the prison that you've created for yourself, right? The prison that your mind is in. You want to get out of that. You know, there's this parable about two wolves. So I think there's this great Indian chief, and he's talking to his grandson, and he tells the grandson that inside each of us are two wolves. One is hate, and one is love. And the grandson looks to his grandfather and he says, well, which one is going to win? The grandfather says, they're going to be at battle. They're going to go after each other. They're going to fight for that space inside of you, each one of us, right? These two wolves, they're going to fight inside of each one of us. And they fight daily. They fight weekly. They fight all the time because only one can win. So the grandson wants to know, well, which one? Which one's going to win? And the grandfather says, whichever one you feed. Whichever one you feed. That's the one that will win. Hate or love and kindness. It is up to you. And how do you feed this? If it's this fight that's going inside of you, right? How do you feed? Are you going to feed positivity or are you going to feed negativity? Are you going to feed all the anger or are you going to feed forgiveness? That's why, I've had some people come on this channel and they've mocked me, not a lot, one or two, and they laugh at the fact, like, forgive them. How dare you even say forgive them? I'm like, okay, you know what? But it is up to you which one it's up to them which one they were going to feed. They're going to feed that wolf that's going to devour them. That's going to keep them in depression. That's going to keep them in this room with their hate and their anger. But that's why they say forgiveness is for you. And for me, I think, like, you know what? Yeah, it's for you, but it's okay. It's a gift that you give them, and yet somehow it benefits you. That's how, I look at it. And not that you want to give them something because it benefits you, but that's just the result of it. That's why so many people have learned that giving, you get so much more than you give, even though you're the one giving, and you give because you care. So when you give because you care, isn't it amazing how good you feel inside? It's the same thing with forgiveness. When you give someone this gift of forgiveness, and I'm not saying it's the same as trust, by the way, or acceptance. It is not. It is not the same as trusting or accepting the narcissist behavior. It absolutely is not. So hear me when I say this. When you forgive them, you will be released from this prison. You're going to be able to feed the wolf that is love and kindness. You are going to be able to choose, like that therapist was saying, you're going to be able to choose despite your pain and suffering and your circumstances. You're going to be able to choose whatever is lovely and good and pure and noble and true. And that is how you escape. That's how you move forward. And when you start doing that, it doesn't even matter where your circumstances are. You will gain favor. Other people will notice this about you. People are going to start gravitating towards you because of this. Because people want the ability to do what you just did. People are going to want to be able to move forward and improve their lives and let go of the pain. So think about, I know I threw a lot of things at you just now, but one of the things that comes back to me over and over again is that you could go through the exact same pain and suffering as somebody else and yet suffer differently. Suffer differently. And what that means is, even in your suffering, you're going to choose to do some things that will let light into your life. You're going to do a few things each day, maybe even as you think when something negative starts happening to you or occurs to you, choose to do something right to counter it or to escape from it, even if it's for a moment. You know, there have been stories about people who've been in concentration camps and in the most hideous, horrible situations, right? I mean, concentration camps are about as bad as it can get. The torture, the hunger, the cold, the heat, you're starving and you're being abused and you are imprisoned. I mean, there is no way out. There are armed guards. And yet everybody who's there, even though they're all suffering, they are all suffering, and yet they're not all suffering the same way, right? Some of them choose to still hold on to their dignity. Some of them still choose to still be a human being, to be humane. Some of them still choose to be kind because they're feeding that wolf of kindness. They're not going to feed the wolf of hate and anger. They're going to feed the wolf of love and kindness. And that person, once they are released from that prison, they're going to be able to move on with their life, while others will continue to regress. They'll continue to fold into themselves and deteriorate, even without the walls imprisoning them anymore, because their mind is not free. They haven't worked at feeding the wolf that will free their mind and their life. So you guys, I wanted to share all of this with you because when you are stuck in the future faking that the narcissist created, right? The fake future that the narcissist created. When you get stuck there and you won't let it go and you become bitter and you become, shall I say, not really entitled, but you expect, right? You're like, why not? Why can't I have this feature? And I expect that feature. Just like the wife I was telling you about who was on top of the husband's car, banging on the windshield. She's sitting on the hood of the car, banging on the windshield, while the new supply, the mistress, is sitting there next to her husband in the car. And she thinks, I'm going to make their life miserable because my life is miserable. I'm going to make them pay because they hurt me. I'm going to demand that he apologize and give me restitution, right? And what ends up happening instead is the two of them then bond over it. They bond over your misery. They bond over your attacks. They bond over the hateful, angry, lunatic wolf that you've been feeding. You don't want to give them that satisfaction. What they cannot bond over, by the way, is if you feed that wolf of kindness and love, they can't bond over that. They're not going to be like, wow, yeah, my ex is so awesome and so kind and still has a lot of friends and has moved on with their life and is making a success of themselves. They can't bond over that. The new supply and the narcissist will actually implode watching you succeed, because then the new supply is going to look at you, at the narcissist, your narcissistic ex, and get angry. Like, how come I'm not doing as well as your ex? How come we're not doing as well as your ex? How come your ex has moved on and has gotten married and is happy and now we're miserable? You guys, the answer is never to hate more. The answer is never to be more angry. And that's why it is so important to have composure. And if you guys were there with me from the beginning, I was telling you my crappy this week was that I lost my mind. I just got so frustrated and angry because I was being gaslit, for one, with contradictions by this woman and to my face. And even though there are witnesses around who can see this, nobody is challenging this woman who is gaslighting me, right? Who's forcing me to live out this contradiction that she's imposing on me. And I lost my freaking mind. I was so angry. It boiled up inside of me. I was very angry at her. I mean, I didn't lash out and yell at her or anything like that. I walked around the rest of the place kind of grumbling. And that's what I mean. Like, that's the anger that I'm talking about that I was feeding in myself. I was feeding the wolf of anger, of indignation, of even hatred, right? Because I hated the fact that I was being forced to live this contradiction. And I was feeding this wolf of rebellion and just indignation. And it didn't make me feel any better. At the end of that tour, I did not feel any better. It never makes you feel better. Feeding the wolf of anger and hatred never makes you feel better. It always tears you down. And then you're embarrassed, and then you're regret, you regret what you did, and you just feel awful. And I did. And even though this woman might have deserved that I was angry at her, it doesn't matter. It still hurts me. So that's why when you forgive someone, you do yourself a favor. You allow yourself to move on. You allow yourself not to get stuck in this room in your head where it's filled with anger. Well, you guys, our hour is almost up, and I'm so glad that you guys have come on to join me today. I hope that you've learned a few things. I'm going to go through a couple of these comments. Yeah. Rissa, so true. They will make you go into debt believing in their dream. Yeah. And they don't care either. They won't even feel like they owe you anything after they've wiped out all of your savings. Then they'll just think, well, that's your choice. You chose to do this too. And so they don't care. And not only that, I mean, narcissists are just evil, polished politicians. They just are. That's how they live their life. That's how they got away with everything for so long. And these polished politicians, they continue to get reelected. That's the thing that kills me, is like they can lie to our face, make it sound so good, and then we want to believe it, right? Because we want to believe this future faking. We want to believe that they're going to make our life so much better and that they really care about us. And so we vote for them. Or in the case of the narcissist, we stay with them, hoping that we're going to get to this better place. Gloria, good to see you. Said that the ex-narc lied so much about everything. It's just crazy. It's made me feel crazy too. Absolutely, right? That's why we have to hold on to our sanity. We have to hold on to whatever is true. That's the very first thing in that scripture, by the way, is whatever is true. Think about these things, right? Truth is so important. And like I was saying about the Leo Tolstoy story, you do not want to get to the end of your life and ask, what if my whole life has been wrong? What if my whole life, all my anger, all my frustration, all the resentment was wrong? And I'll tell you right now, it is. It is wrong. Even when you have been dealt a really bad, horrible hand, you're not going to help yourself by surrounding yourself and embellishing yourself and embedding yourself in resentment. Okay? It's just not going to help you come out of that wrong situation. It's only going to dig you deeper into it. So that's why I want to help you guys come out of that. I know, but here's the thing. There is definitely a time for anger, but deal with it in private, by the way, or deal with it with a therapist, or deal with it with a close friend. Don't deal with it with the person that's frustrating you. Now, you want to be equipped for when they do something, so do that. Learn from the times that you've been frustrated or were hurt in public, and think about what you could say differently the next time, if ever it should happen again. And that's what I learned is, next time somebody does something like that to me, make me live in this contradiction, what can I say? I can say, that's total insanity, but okay. I mean, I can say that and then just leave it at that. And hopefully they will think about it. Because if I'm yelling at them like, that's total insanity, they're not going to think about it. They're just going to be like, wow, you're crazy, you're angry. And an angry person does not seem very credible. So it's better to just back off, keep your sanity, say the one thing. Even if you don't get to say everything you want to say one thing and then remove yourself. And then the one thing doesn't have to be disrespectful or mean or filled with anger. It's just the truth. Give them the truth and then be done. Yep. Gloria also says, I know I will never get an apology. Exactly. We just don't. If we are living hoping that we're going to get an apology and every day trying to figure out how to get that apology, that's another prison that we keep ourselves in. We have to let that go. You know, one day you might get an apology. I actually did get, let me think, trying to remember of the narcissists. Out of all the narcissists, not that I've known a ton of narcissists, but I've known a few in different situations. I did get an apology once from one of them. Not about everything, but just for one instance, right? I was kind of surprised. I was like, wow, I've been praying for that. I've been praying for an apology. And it was nice for a while, but then the narcissists continued to do their normal stuff and had plenty more to apologize for, which they never did. So even if you get one apology, it's never going to be enough. It's never going to repair you completely. It may help you feel a little better for that moment, but it's not going to change your circumstance. That's why it's important that you change your circumstance. You change the way you think and the way you respond to that circumstance. And somehow you're going to suffer differently. You're going to appear to be suffering less. And in fact, you do tend to suffer less when you don't imprison yourself along with other people. It's incredible. It is mind bending, but it's a good thing. Renee, good to see you. Says hello everyone. I got here late. Says after 3 years, no contact. I just received flowers and an apology note from the narc. Wow, isn't that so nice? Now, don't fall back. Don't be hoovered back in, right? That's nice. Just take it for what it is. It's an apology. Thank goodness. And enjoy the flowers. And then make a list of all the reasons that you guys broke up. Make a list of all the things they had done so that if they should try to come back into your life, they, first of all, if they're not a narcissist, they would have to account for all of those things they wronged you with, right? And then secondly, they're not going to do that. A narcissist is not going to do that. They're going to want to, it's a possible hoover that you're going to be getting, Renee. But I do hope that the apology is sincere and just enjoy it for what it is. It's not going to change everything in your life, but enjoy it for what it is. Dear beloved, good to see you. Says, I got an apology, but I'm not even sure if it was sincere. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes the apology is a hoover, and they just want to say what they think you want to hear so that they can get back into your good graces and possibly back into your house. Don't do it. Renee says, I didn't respond, but now I'm in the re-idealization phase. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Be so very careful about that. And that's why I say make that list. That's like your number one weapon, by the way, against the narcissist, is to make a list of the reality, the truth of what you went through. Write it out. It doesn't have to be a whole diary. It doesn't have to be an entire book, right? Just make some bullet points about what they did. If it was cheating, was it stealing? Did they never pay you back for something? Did they gaslight you? Did they disregard you as a person? Did they I don't know, this is a huge thing, but it probably is, but did they flirt with other people in front of you and then cheat on you? I mean, the cheating part, absolutely. Some people, it might seem like they're flirting, but if this person is like just full on, what's the big deal that I'm flirting with this person? It's a total disregard. You know, did they completely disregard your feelings? Did they totally treat you like a second-class citizen? You've got to write those things down. And that's what's going to help you when they continue to re-idealize you and hoover you, to wake you up. It'll wake you up from all their lies and their, again, future faking. It's coming back. It's coming back to you. During the idealization phase, they are going to build, again, a fake future. Write that down. Write down all the things that they promised you before, and then how they broke those things. Okay? How they broke those promises. Oh, that's great. Dear Beloved says, I just made my list a couple days ago. Excellent. Renee says, I'm guessing it's over with the supply. He cheated on me. Oh, I'm guessing it's over with the supply he cheated on me with. And he's trying to see if I'll take him back. Absolutely. Absolutely. Do not be bought with some cheap flowers. Even if they're $100 flowers. Those are cheap. That's cheap for treating you the way that they treated you. Just enjoy the flowers because flowers are beautiful. I love flowers. But do not be bought by so easily and cheaply as that. Gloria says, ex-hoovered so many times, each time, hold on, I don't know why I cannot see this. Oh, each time the discard got worse. The last one really hurt deeply. Yes. Yeah, every time. You know, it just gets worse and worse every time with the narcissist. And I've had people go back again and again and again. And each time it gets worse. The discard is more painful. The way they treat you is so much worse. They have even less respect for you the second, third, fourth time around. They become more crazy. It's not a good situation. Renee says, ha ha, they were nice flowers. Yeah, enjoy those. Well, you guys, we are at the end of our hour. If there are any other questions or comments, you can put them up right now. But I want to tell you the good news. As you're finishing up any conversations, I want to tell you the good news. The good news is you still have life inside of you. You still are breathing. You still are able to make choices. As long as you are alive, and every day that you wake up, you have a whole new set of choices you can make. Every day. Even if you just messed up this morning, guess what? That's okay. You can move forward. Every day gives you endless opportunities to start over. It really does. And one of these days, it's going to stick. One of these days, your positive thinking, it's going to stick. One of these days, feeding that wolf of kindness and love, that wolf is going to get stronger and overcome the wolf of hate and anger to the point where now and again you'll start to feel a little bit of a twinge of hate or anger, and it's not going to bother you because that wolf is going to be minuscule. It's going to be so tiny because the other wolf of hate is going to shrink because you're not feeding it. You refuse to feed it. You can choose that. There's so many things that you can do for yourself. Look inside or upwards, right? Do not think that you are limited to only a certain set of choices. You are not. Choices that you have are limitless. You have so many that you can make that are good. So whatever is good, whatever is lovely, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right and pure, admirable, excellent, and praiseworthy. Think on these things. Well, you guys, that is, oh, hold on. Let me see if there are some comments here. Since you, Gloria says, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, what happened? I lost some stuff. I don't know what happens with my comments. They come and they go. Yes. Renee says, I choose to get closer to God. Yes. And do that. Well, you guys, many blessings to you. I will see you next week. I might even try to do another show tomorrow, but I might do segments. It'll be okay with you guys, but I might start doing quick and short segments so that they're easier to rewatch because I know it's hard to watch an entire hour or hour and a half. I'm rethinking this. I may do 15, 20-minute segments and with a talk, and hopefully that'll be long enough for you guys to get on, but you also can get on in the comments. So I'll mention that as well. So blessings to you, and hopefully I will see you soon, and we will be doing more live segments, just shorter ones, and it'll make it easier for everybody to get in and out and get their point and their lesson and be able to move forward with their day. Many blessings to you guys. Enjoy your day. There's so many good things ahead for you. I will see you next week.